My brother.
How's it going, my friend?
Dude, I was trying to remember. What it was like back in 1996 for you. And what it was like as I watched you brave one of the worst winter hell weeks I've ever seen in my entire life. Do you remember
Yeah.
that hell week, brother?
No, one, I think we get I was in 203, not
Uh-huh.
205. So if you want to,
Oh, that's
so
right. That's you were a summer hell week, right?
yeah, so I was a summer
Yeah,
hell
that's right.
week and I was there with Greg Zarnecki and Rob
That's right.
Chichero.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
so we were the beatdown hell week, right? So we went in with like an ungodly amount of people and we had like more washout injuries than ever. I mean, I went into hell week with a stress fracture and took it all the way to a complete fracture when I graduated. I mean, after hell week, they took, basically said, hey, they x-rayed my leg. Yeah, you got a complete fracture. And that's when I got double rolled to 205. So,
Oh,
yeah.
those
So,
double rolls. I tell you what, there's only a few of us that have had those double rolls,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And those things, you think, oh no, it's going to be great. It's 4 months. I'm going to be fully recovered, fully healed.
Yeah.
But the grind of PTRR for
Uh,
4 months, man.
I'm gonna tell you something that maybe a lot of people won't say. My favorite part of my SEAL team experience was actually Buds because I found
Yeah.
it to be the most just place I've ever seen,
Oh
where
my God,
effort
that's
is
beautiful.
rewarded. Effort is rewarded. The teamwork is rewarded. It's the only place where I've really seen where, and again, I don't mean to beat up on officers, but it's the only time in your career where officers are rewarded for looking out for the guys on an extreme level.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And and it's where teamwork is truly defined, and it's where you are truly tested to the core. And I celebrate. I mean, I went out and got tanked the night before Hell Week. I mean, I love my time. I mean, you think about it, you remember Forrest Walker?
I love Forrest, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
love
I just
Forrest.
remember him, during fourth phase PTR, and he'd take you out in the surf zone. He's like, they're paying you to do this.
Yeah.
You're like living on a beachfront condo, living life as good as it gets. You're a pro athlete, weekends off,
It was
beautiful.
there was this age of innocence that I think
Yeah,
consumed us. But what was remarkable is that it was combined with the realities of what we were going to potentially face, right?
right,
You knew this was not frivolous. You knew
right.
we weren't just wasting time. The reasoning behind it had such gravity to it that it really brought the best out of us as young men.
Without a doubt, I went into Buds and in the military. I mean, I didn't even know what a SEAL was when I went to join. I joined to be a CB, believe it or not. So,
Did you
but
really?
yeah, you probably don't know my story. So I was a knucklehead growing up. My mom had me; she was 16. My dad was 18, and inner city kid, fell in with the wrong
Where in
crowd.
inner city? Where in Boston?
Boston. So I was in, I was in between Southie and when Southie was bad and Quincy,
Okay.
right? And then I spent most of, a lot of time in Dorchester and all that stuff and fields, places where, it is what it is now. Now it's all, I mean, Southie's like rich,
I know.
you
I know.
know,
One
you
of my
know,
one of my best friends is a former Marine from Southie, and now he's an HA out there, and he laughs at it now compared
yeah.
to what it was growing up.
Yeah, and I went there as like a young teenager because I kind of was a younger kid in Quincy, and then my mom got remarried and I got thrown in. But, I fell in with the wrong crowd, and I was an atheist. Like my family never practiced religion, so I had this big hole in me, man. Like, my mom had me was 16, my dad was 18. That marriage didn't last. My mom got pregnant again, had two more kids, one with Down syndrome. She caught him
Wow.
cheating, gave away, my middle brother to adoption, kept hers and shipped me off to my grandparents, right?
Wow.
And so as a 11-year-old, whatever, a 10-year-old, that totally jacked me up.
Devastating.
I couldn't so that kind of broke me for a while. And then, like most men, if you read Wild at Heart by John Eldridge or any of
Yeah,
that stuff,
brother.
I
Beautiful.
threw it into my first girlfriend, so then that was what I clung to. And if you ask me, in the morning, two things I was sure of. My girl was going to be there for me and the sun was going to come up. And then that fell through. And I just went into a dark place, became a womanizer, and
What
tried
age,
to.
Jason? What age was that?
That's around 16.
16. So the
16
real
to,
identity, the real
yeah,
time where we're trying to figure out what being a
yeah,
man looks like.
yeah. 16 to 20 was my my
Okay.
darkest period, right? So there I am, and now I'm a total knucklehead, dude. I mean, I'm a total knucklehead. I drop out of school in like 2 months into 10th grade,
Wow.
right? I mean, I was a smart kid. I was an A student, right? But when I wanted to be,
Right.
but I was big. I was jacked, at the time, and I was hanging out with all the dudes. So I started bouncing in nightclubs, and then I hooked up with one 24-year-old girl, and I'm like, why am I going to school ever again? I mean, that's what you think is
Oh,
so I'm
totally.
not using the right head to think with there.
Yeah.
So then I just started bouncing, and then I kind of fell in with darker and darker crowds. And next thing you know, I'm knocking a dude out on the street to get his shoes because my shoes didn't have dress code. And, and I need to go meet a girl.
Right.
Right. So I literally, walking around looking for somebody with the shoes that would fit the dress code, knocked the guy out, took his shoes, left him my shoes. And went.
That was nice of you. That was very kind of you. Yeah. If you're going to be a thug, at least you can be a kind thug.
Right, exactly. But I mean, and that's just that's like one of the minor things I did. Luckily, I was never caught for anything I did. I turned right when they turned left, and finally one day I'm laying in bed and I'm like, I'm a freaking toilet, man. I was just had this awakening where I'm just like, I am a piece of garbage. One of my friends just went away from jail, and the other, didn't make it, and I'm like, I need to get out of here. I need a complete reset.
Was it the confluence of all that tragedy that forced you to pick up and pay attention? Or was it just, did you feel it building and building?
I think it built over time for me. Right. And then there wasn't a particular catalyst. I mean, I don't know if you remember, like I always wanted to be the good guy. I just got desperate and lost hope.
Right.
That's what was happening. I didn't see a way out. I mean, during that time, that 16 to 20 20 years, I got a job in the Teamsters Union. I was making good bank. I had a nice car, leather couch, my own apartment because I didn't want to listen to anyone else's rules. And then the recession hit and I lost all that. And now I got to pay bills and I got to do stuff. And, that's where it really got bad. So I walk into the recruiter's office, right? And I'm like, I'm going to join the military. And the Marines had this bitching commercial, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, sword and stabbing the dragon and all that stuff. Oh, dude.
So good.
Excalibur is one of my favorite movies.
Me too.
No, dude. And now, Nathrak, Uthvaspetod, Dotheliende. Love that stuff.
Dude, I say that around here, and my 4 girls look at me like I'm nine-eyed.
Yeah. The chant of making, man.
The chant of making.
Yeah. So I walk in there and I go.
Wait. Do you know the what is it? The Song of Steel too from Conan? Do you know that one?
I know just about every Conan quote that ever was, man. Yeah.
We are children of the 80s, aren't we?
Oh, dude. I mean, there's very few things that Arnold couldn't do that I didn't know back in the day. I mean, I treat it as encyclopedia of modern bodybuilding, like the
Bible.
Yeah. So I walk into the detailers, not the detailers, the recruiter's office. I'm like, hey, I want to join. They're like, cool. And they're like, you got your high school diploma? I'm like, nope. Like, can't do anything for you. I'm like, damn. What am I going to do now? The Marines won't take me.
Right.
So I'm like, wait a minute. Rambo's cool. I'm going to go join. I'm going to be like, open the eye in the mud, come out, be that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I go there, sit down, start the same conversation. Like, nope, can't take you. I'm like, man, Air Force wasn't even working. They literally had the day off as usual. And then I'm like, Navy, man, I don't want to be in the Navy. I like girls. I don't want to be on a ship with a bunch of dudes. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like, wait a minute. My buddy Dave was a CB. He gets to carry a gun, gets to go some cool places, never on a ship. And now he's making good money driving a crane or whatever, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go in there. So I walk in there. They throw me out, but they're like, give us your name and number. Special programs open up all the time. So a couple of months go by, and I get a call, and they're like, hey, come down. We want to see how dumb you are. I'm like, all right, cool. I come down. I take that test. I smoke it. I go to the ASVAB. I smoke the ASVAB. And so now they're all calling me, and I'm like, all right, listen, I'm going to give the Navy a chance first because they're the first person who thought I was worth something.
Integrity.
So I sit down. They're like, hey, we want you to be a nuke. I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, I got a GED. A nuke? They're like, yeah, what is that? I'm like, you're on a submarine. I'm like, submarine? No.
Nah.
No, I'm all set. I'm all set. I'm like, well, they also have these nuclear reactors on aircraft carriers. I'm like, no, at the time, no chicks, no way. All right. That's what I thought. I'm like, all right, well, how about this? A gas turbine dude, right? Who works on these gas turbines and all that. I'm like, yeah, that looks cool. They go on land, but you're not going to trick me, dude. That ship goes on another ship.
Yeah, right?
I'm not going to do that. I'm like, I'm going to go to lunch. You guys better have a cool job for me when I come back. And if I don't, I'm going to go talk to everyone else. And they're like, all right. So I go to lunch and come back. I sit down and dude, he slides this like that white and black card with the SEAL description on over. Dive Fair program, dude. I'm like, why didn't you show me this from Go, bro? 6 years. Kapow. Exactly. Oh, dude. And this was before Steven Seagal. This was before Charlie Sheen. That stuff just came out.
Yeah.
So then I'm drinking everything. Rogue Warrior. I'm drinking. Like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. So anyways, I first classed up at 193. Actually,
yeah, you had been there in the 190s. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah. I was there, got a stress fracture, got rolled out, sent to the hospital to Corman 18 months, came back. I get a funny curve in my tibia that just gets destroyed if I beat on it too much. So, and plus I was a big kid. I never wanted to be a skinny guy. I tried to carry as much muscle as I could, and that was probably part of it. So, I mean, even there, I was, in the 200 when I went back.
Dude, I remember you were thick as hell, man. I was like, how does he keep that weight on during this madness?
Yeah. And then, and then I just absolutely love buds. I love first phase. I love log PT. Dive phase dude, I didn't know how to swim. They had to teach me the stroke. Like when I went to test in boot camp, I knew how, I've been around water. I could tread and I could do an unorganized stroke. Yeah. But I remember there was a guy named Todd Hopwood who went on to become a team guy. I don't know if he was West Coast guy. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, grab an apple or pick the apple from the tree, put it in your hand, put it in the basket. Yeah. And I did that as fast as I could and I passed. And I'm like, yes, I was the only one who passed in that class on that screening test. And I'm just like, holy smokes, that worked. Yeah. Right? Apple, basket. That's what I did. So anyways, so I tried to fill,
it was me. I wasn't a good swimmer either. I grew up in South Florida, but I remember when once we had finished boot camp, I was in boot camp with Scott Zinn or John Zinn and a guy named Brian J, who was both in 205. And they were these 18-year-old kids who were both like world-class swimmers. Oh man! And when we were in Bethesda, Maryland, we were at the pool there, and they like would try to work with me, and they're like, "Forget it, Rutherford. You're just gonna fail. We're not helping you." I was like, "No!" That was just horrible, man.
Yeah, man. So I tried to fill that hole that we were talking about with camaraderie. And I thought that's where it was. And in Buds, it really worked. There I was, I had my buddy Greg and Chooch and everybody. And we called ourselves the Beef Crew. And I met, so many other great dudes like Chris Connell and other ones, and it was awesome, and then went back into the teams and the teams were great. But, and I think Tom Shea covers this a little bit, but before 9/11, we kind of used to eat our own for a while there, man.
Oh, brutal.
You know what I'm saying? Brutal. There was not a lot of mentorship, and I was such a broken kid. I didn't have a father figure, I didn't have anything. All I wanted to do was fight, right? Don't call me to build the pallets, but one of my stupidest quotes ever, call me when you need me to beat the crap out of somebody or whatever, right? Like, what the hell is that? What kind of knucklehead was that?
It's a high degree of intelligence. What do you mean?
Yeah.
That's called cultural assimilation, Jason.
Yeah. So instead, I just tried to get as tough as I could and I carried a big chip on my shoulder. And, I was stunted in my growth, I think, in the teams and in my life until I found God and was able to, reconcile that Wounded Warrior, but, oh, come on now. Operation Restored Warrior is the ones that really helped me.
Do you
you
remember?
know?
Do you remember specifically any time where you were like, where you noticed guys that had faith, and you were
Yeah,
like,
totally.
yeah, where?
Travis McNeese, hands down, Travis McNeese.
Okay.
All right, so Travis and there was a second phase instructor, Todd, blonde hair. He's a pastor. He was a pastor then. I can't remember his name. He was just, I just saw him on Facebook. But anyways, I noticed guys that dealt with things the best, were Christians.
Yeah.
I mean, things just seemed to wash off their back. And I remember I was a diehard atheist, bro. I slayed every Christian I ever got in a conversation with. And I used their faith against them and do all the stuff because I was angry.
Yeah.
Basically it was my lack of fatherless. So I couldn't understand the father. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
God being the father. I mean, I got the Jesus part, and I still struggle with the Father, to be honest with you, in the Trinity. So I get the Jesus part, I get the Holy Spirit, but the Father I always considered as judgy, whatever. And I felt abandoned, right? Because I've been abandoned by, everyone in my life. So yeah, man, I just, I don't know where I was going with that, but
the moment
guys
where
who had calm.
the moment you started to recognize that, hey, in this crazy ass world of being a team guy, this I don't want to call it a lust, but a definite desire to want to go to war, to want to acknowledge the very worst things within the human condition because of our training, the willingness to want to test ourselves against those evils, man.
Dude, my paradise, my ultimate end, if you ask me, up until about 35, would have been dying in a mountain of brass, going into hand to hand with my bros.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was my aspiration until I was probably 40.
Right.
I'm 48 now.
Yeah.
But I was an atheist for 37 years, and all I had was anger. That was my drug. That is what consumed me. And that's part of what I channeled to get through everything. And that is, I think anger is a very big part of a lot of team guys are broken. There's very few that are model Christian guys who go through we want that ideal. Like me, if you remember Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, you're of my era. I always wanted to be the paladin.
Yeah, man.
There was a picture in the book there, the player's handbook, where there was this one solo knight coming through this like gates into hell, and he's fighting all these demons alone. I dug that because I felt like that in my head,
absolutely.
So that's kind of what I gravitated towards.
When you had that moment where you started to recognize that, the camaraderie of the team, although there's a profound appeal to it, there's a definite support, a nurturing as it relates to being a war fighter, but kind of, there's an anonymity to being an actual human being, right? You can't show up every day and walk into the platoon space while, they've got a full 50 cal of hammering you and going, wait a minute, guys, this has really distracted me from being able to do my job well. It's really crushing me. I'm getting tired.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
you say that, you're going to be hazed with, duct tape in place or rigger's tape, but you don't want it.
Oh, had it all, right?
Yeah.
So in that moment, when you begin to realize, man, I'm not going to be fulfilled in those spaces in my heart in terms of developing that core empathy that really enables me to process my life in a way that I can cease to be resentful. I can quiet the anger in my heart, and I can turn this idea around to a place where I can start projecting, not only with the strength that I've gotten from turning my life around and what I chose to do and the hardships, but now I can start projecting a different concept, a different ideology out to help people. Can you walk us through that transition for you?
Yeah. So when I was in, I didn't see that, in the teams, I didn't see any of that mentorship. That would have been very healthy. And I think it was almost, I can see some benefit in what they're doing by keeping you angry and keeping you in this rock star lifestyle. They in the short term, I think it's easier, right? But in the long term, guys break, right? They break down. You get alcohol, you get drugs, you get divorces, your kids turn into strippers, and the long-term consequences of that are, that's, forgive my big giant mastiff just wandering around the
Yeah, no, I
background
saw him come in. I'm waiting for my Rhodesian to walk in. Yeah. Well, we just saw it. We just saw it recently with, a very, very, a guy who's a legend in the team. I don't know if he was one of your third phase instructors. He's one of my third phase instructors. His son just committed suicide.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And that's just become the norm. And whether it's children and their suicides, whether it's guys committing suicide, whether it's the dysfunction, all the related dysfunctions that have come along with 20 straight years of combat.
Yeah.
You have to recognize, hey, there are some other things that we should be addressing in terms of this mentorship requirement for all of us.
Well, and I think that's, you're going to get me to go off on a rant tangent here. I think it's really...
That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a lot of love for senior leadership inside of the teams during our period. I really, we were really trying, competing interests. I think, we rode a lot of guys really hard and put them away wet for a very long time, and nobody knowing that they're never going to tag themselves out, right? Knowing they're not going to say, hey, I need a break, because they're addicted to it. They're addicted to the camaraderie, and being over there and being a part of something, awesome it can be real, it's way different than coming home, for some, and having to deal with your wife and your kids and the bills and the problems and all that stuff. It's simple over there. Mission first, bros, everything you got. You come back, and that's when you got all the side effects that lifestyle causes, which is mess, right? It's a lot of mess at home. And, senior leadership, I really felt like let us down. I think in our quest to attain seniority in the ranks, we gave one set of rules to officers and another set of rules to enlisted guys. And we had a lot of frickin' turds in the teams at leadership positions. I personally fired 2
Wow.
my platoons, right? Meaning that, I lobbied the guys, went to the master chief and said, this guy's got to go.
Wow.
And here was the case for both of them. They both sucked on the West Coast. They both got canned to Puerto Rico, gained rank, came back after being on shore duty for all that time, came back, were given OIC slots on the East Coast to hide them from their mistakes on the West Coast. And both of them utterly fell flat on their face. And one of them killed the guy next to me.
Oh, my God.
Mario Maestas. I don't know if you know Mario.
Yeah.
But the officer there, without a doubt, blew his brains out. And I was the medic. I did everything I could. I brought him to the hospital, alive, intubated with a pulse. But I mean, he had gross brain matter coming out of his forehead, and they protected him even then.
Yeah.
So this officer, right, they didn't renew his contract, allowed him to keep his bird. So he phased out, came back as a reservist, and ended up heading up a det in Rhode Island.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, dude. And what I watched in that cover up of what happened to that, and Mario was a stud, dude. He was a stud. He was a great looking kid, great guy, great operator. So much about that guy that, went out there. And that stayed with me forever. And to me, that was the last straw, because I watched the team's senior leadership betray the guys.
Right.
And the worst part is I told training the night before that they could not do night vision with this guy, and begged them not to do it because he was going to kill someone. And literally the first run he did.
Oh my God, Jason, right? Man, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, brother.
No, I mean, I'm sorry for Mario and his family and everyone else, but it's just, that to me just showed me, and I saw it time after time after time. Right. So what do? We just lost a guy in a training accident, a horrible training accident. Did you bring him home and let him decompress with their families? No. Keep him out there. Let him drink it off.
Yeah, drink it off.
Drink it off. That's what we did. And it tore the platoon apart.
Oh.
And it was just terrible leadership. But this is what happened. I mean, the biggest problem back in those days was how many DUIs did a guy have? right? And
Yep.
instead of helping those guys, they drove them away.
Yeah, it was sad. Hopefully, and I'm not sure if it's happening, and I certainly know, I'm not getting warm fuzzies from what I'm hearing on how they're addressing a lot of these issues. Certainly not getting, I'm not, we did the numbers of fatalities and that shouldn't be happening continue. They're not slowing down. We're, as we're getting ready to have all the 9/11 babies retire, which I believe is going to cause a wreak havoc in our ranks, our veteran ranks in our community, as it is in all communities, whether it's SOF, or special forces or MARSOC. We just see it. And that's why I find it fascinating when I see guys like you decide to continue serving as police officers, even though you've seen kind of the great challenges within bureaucracy, the great challenges within certain cultures that prop up a really dysfunctional attitude because it somehow is tied to the ability to pull your trigger under duress, which there is no direct correlation, right? It's all this facade.
So there was a catalyst there that pulled me from the team. So while I was working up and deployed, I lost my little brother to heroin. So I decided right then and there that, hey, you know what? I'm done making these third world countries safer where they hate us anyways. I am going to come back and fight in my own community. So, I walked away at 15 years, 10 months. I had to get some pretty heavy paperwork done to get out 2 months early because they had a rule in Boston, but you had to be hired by your 37th birthday. Mm-hmm. Well, I literally wasn't going to make it. So they let me out 2 months early so I could make it in the academy. Went through the academy, and different organizations do things really well. So the SEAL teams do, a really good job at a lot of things. And what I loved about the police department is that everyone starts at the same rank and they promote on merit. They're supposed to promote on merit. There's some cronyism and that people get promoted for whatever reason. And I really think the teams could use that because having a college degree has absolutely nothing to do with things. And from what I understand is after I got out, and I don't know when you got out, brother, but I realized they started putting officers more in support positions, like away from it, and they weren't making tactical decisions out there and doing whatever. They were letting the chiefs and the guys who deployed from what I hear as lessons learned. And I really think that is, that there is something in there. Like if we were to start the military all over again, the whole officer enlisted structure was basically started back in the day when people couldn't read, write, or count.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Read, write, or count. You get this read, write, or count. So nobles who were educated were officers and they were nobility. And then the guys were the guys, right? And right now, I'll put any team guy pretty much against any officer anywhere, and they're all equally as brilliant. We attract brilliant, awesome dudes. Yeah. So, I understand that creates a massive challenge for them to try to lead guys who are at least as smart as you are. Mm-hmm. Right? But, and this is something that I often wondered, because I see a lot of people out there, leaning on military cats for leadership. And I'm like, do you guys understand that if I didn't listen to my lieutenant, I went to jail? I went to jail.
Yeah, jail.
Right? I could go to jail and demoted in rank and all these things. It's positional, right? But when you see enlisted guys leading, it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's earned respect.
Right.
There were some guys who just made rank because they could take tests and all that stuff. But the guys the legends out there that people, you didn't care who they were because they walked the walk and they talked the talk and they led from the front and by example. An LPO that never told anyone to sweep the floor because when he grabbed the broom, 15 guys would have to fight to get it out of his hand.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying? Yeah, guys who showed up early because they didn't want to let their LPO down, who fought to make muster as late as possible so that you can spend time with your wife and kids,
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know where that whole tangent went off.
No,
I don't know how you're going to clean up this podcast.
No, Jason, this is fantastic because what people what people want to understand when there are crises is, where does leadership come from, right?
Right.
Who do they look to? Who do they look for? How do they make the tough decisions in crisis? It's the monotony of everyday execution, right? This is the minimum requirements for my job. This is how I need to handle my finances and my family and getting people
Right.
to school or work on time. That stuff becomes second nature, right? It almost becomes just rote because of, the time commitment that you have to
Right.
put in. But when it comes to influencing other people, and
I
by
don't
the
think there's
very,
an easy way to it.
there is no
Right.
other than being in those circumstances where God is calling upon you to make decisions when nobody else really wants to make them, when they all kind of move back away and they're like, no, everybody's pointing
Yeah.
a finger somewhere else, and then you step up. And so that's why I think it's fascinating that you're describing the variables where you go into the academy and everybody starts at the baseline, and everybody, your reputation is built on how well you succeed. Can you describe
Right.
that a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, and again, it's basically you go in, everyone starts at, we'll call it a 1, right? And then you start busting your butt and you make a reputation for yourself. And because of that, you get rewarded with certain assignments and positions where you're, again, afforded the ability to excel, to kind of punch tickets, to move your way up by performance and by doing that. Now, if you get put in a special division and you don't do a bunch of, you're going to be known as the guy who didn't do a lot. Now, this is for in an ideal world, right? None of this ever exists in a vacuum, and there's always going to be cronyism, especially in places like Boston, where it's the oldest police department in the nation. Period. They were the first in the nation, and you got like 16 generations of cops there, right? Their dads, this and that. So outside of that, but if you just look at the beauty of the chief of police was a 1, right? He was a 1. And then and then worked his way up. So he understands that. Whereas you look at how, the officer structure came in, they come in, and if they were lucky, they were a 3rdo and they got to be just a guy and learn what the guys are going through and pal around and help with the paperwork, but they got in a department. But typically what happened, they came in, they're an AOIC, where they're doing whatever, and they barely know what the hell they're doing, but they're expected to make calls, right? Like we were in a place, before Damneck tapped all the awesome dudes, right? I had guys in my platoons like Bill Jarvis, who had like a billion platoons, like Steve, and I don't want to say his last name because he's still in, and but he had a ton of platoons, and dudes had like platoons upon platoons, and they knew all this stuff, and they had all this knowledge, and then Damneck sucked away everybody with more like 3, and now you have 1 and platoon wonders out there who are the experienced guys, and it just made the regular teams, a bad place. So it was hard to push back on those, I think. I think that was probably a pretty big factor in some of the tragedies that we've known out there, where you didn't really have a guy with 6, 7, 8, 9 platoons that could weigh in on a decision that might cause a massive problem.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And I think, it's funny when you look at the trajectory of experience too, where we had that peak in 2011, 12, and then, guys were just, 6, 7 combat platoons are just fried. And then they're coming out and they're trying to go to those places, rebuild their families. And now all of a sudden it creates this void of other people to move into those positions again. And I think that's what's interesting is that, and it's kind of a phenomenon in all areas where life and death is a reality, right? Is the human experience or the human condition can only take so much before it needs to start to, it needs to come off the line to retrofit itself, your psychosis and everything else that's going on, your body, your everything, and then start moving back in a way that fits kind of a new generation that came in as at the head of the operational component while you were repairing yourself. And I think that flux is always kind of tricky, I would imagine. Did you see those kinds of things when you went to the department as well?
No, they do such a really good job. I mean, because they've been around for 400 years or something ridiculous like that. They made all the mistakes,
Yeah.
and they're not perfect. They have brought a lot of baggage with them. But what I saw was a system unlike the military system where, again, I found that merit and, anyone can be cool for a little while. It's what your overall your overall performance over a long time, right? Like even guys can fake it through buds, right? Where they can be, a team player because they know they're under the microscope and do that. And then you kind of see them devolve afterwards, which is why I think we do still have people wash out afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I saw them, there was a great mentoring aspect where they would take young guys and they'd partner them with like your FTO for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
6 months with a dude who's been in the worst neighborhood for 20 years.
Wow.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
That's a long mentoring. That's a long apprenticeship. That's good.
Yeah. And, and that apprenticeship, I think, is what works so well. Right. And it's not like in the teams we do that. Right. You don't have anyone assigned to you, and you really do. I mean, because you're taking people from then, they went through buds, and then we went through SQT and went through all this stuff. But who's there to make sure that the rest of your stuff's tight? Like that you're not beating your wife, or you're not drinking yourself to sleep at night, or whatever, right? Just somebody who's there who's not the judge, man. Like that's what we needed. And that's what your master chief or whatever was supposed to be. And that was not the case. That was your disciplinarian.
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you do? You had to sweep everything under the rug, and you had to hide everything.
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Was it, I mean, obviously losing your brother must have been crushing, right? And
Yep.
to alter your entire life trajectory, to want to get on the street. Did you want to get on the street to get rid of the people that were selling your brother the drugs, or did you want to get on the street to understand and try and fix it?
Originally, I wanted to get on the street to make a difference. Like, I love the fact that, I could directly make a difference in the people's lives in the city of Boston at any moment. Being a cop at that point gave me the ability to fix something. Something was wrong, I could step up and address it and fix it. That's something that you can't comprehend normally, right? And fix it the right way. And then you get exposed to the court systems and all those other things, and you see the problems with it. And you see, I just got to see a window into the soul of how broken we are. Like
is that we as Boston, as the legal justice system, as America,
as a society, yeah.
Wow.
And when I say as America, I probably shouldn't say as America. America, I believe, is the best justice system in the world. I believe we're really the best. Remember, I don't know if there was a saying going around the teams with you guys, if you ever heard. It's not that we're so good; it's that everyone else is so bad.
Yeah.
That's basically what I feel like our system is here. Whether it's our government or any of that other stuff, right?
Right.
And it's because we do the little stuff well, and we have the principles and the guidance and all that stuff. And what I just discovered is like one of the most lucid moments I've ever had was there was a guy, it was a call I was on, and he had beat the bejesus out of his wife. And we didn't get called. The neighbors called or someone called. And we're there, and his little kid's there. And I asked him, I tried to always give people a solid, right? I'm like, do you want to step out in the hall? I don't want to arrest you in front of your son. And he said to me, no, I want him to see the man taking me away. And I'm like, dude, I didn't cause this. I didn't make you beat up your wife. I didn't, she's going to the hospital now. I didn't have any of that to do with this. You did this, right? And I'm trying to give you an image because I don't want your son to see you going away in cuffs. And he's like, no, I want him to see that you're the bad guy.
Wow.
That's when I knew that we were screwed.
Wow. That's heavy, man. Was it debilitating from, I mean, obviously it's a debilitating social acknowledgement, right? Wow. There are that many layers of dysfunction in every household and every street, and the lower, obviously the less educated, the more violence plays a role in
the more stress. You can say just stress.
You
have to stress for everything. Boom. right?
Yeah.
Because you got to get this and you got to get that, and you don't have any safety net. When you only have this much wiggle room on your money, there's not, your stress starts way sooner. Whereas you get a nice bank account, your stress doesn't start till later. That's just a very bad example.
No, it's legit. I think, and that's the way we've been conditioned to think, actually. That's
Yep.
why we put, so much stress on kids nowadays. You have to go to college. You have to get a advanced degree. You have to go into $150,000 in debt instead of doing a smart job or whatever. Just the way we stress kids out and the way we stress our society out is I think endemic of the problems that we're facing on a regular basis. And go ahead.
And one of the things I'd like to say, is that, being a SEAL is tough, but you're everyone's hero, right? Everyone supports the troops now. We didn't have to deal with the Vietnam era crap that they had to deal with. Being a cop is literally the hardest job in America. Everyone hates you.
Wow.
Only young kids and old people like you. And the only time people and most of the time when you interact with people, it's on the worst day of their life.
Wow.
And you're there to enforce society's rules on them, which they have broken, unless you're that you're rescuing the victim.
How often, because I think what we do as a society is we love groupthink, right? And so
right.
we want to mash a bunch of really complicated, nuanced issues into an individual's life, into this collective stamp of disapproval. Did you ever, how often in all the calls that you had, did you ever see like it was just cut and dry? This person is sociopathic. This person is psychopathic. They're just a bad human being. They deserve what they get. They don't care. Was that the overwhelming, or was it always these more complicated issues of, childhood trauma and poverty and all these other things combined?
I very rarely saw the naturally born evil person. What I saw most often, and having been a thug myself, once you lose hope, what do you care?
Wow.
Right? When life sucks for you and all other things and you can't see a way out, what do you care? And that's what I saw. I saw guys with, 2 outs and 3 strikes every day walking around.
Wow.
That's how they live their life. Right?
And did they like that? Did they like
I don't think that some of them could recognize it. What's that?
Did it give them because, when you feel danger and it's palpable in your life, right? Especially when you're numb to any emotional feelings, you're numb to, man, I know that I'm loved by these people. I have meaning and relevance with this team or this group or this small subculture that I've been affiliated with. But people that are living in that other space, man, they're detached, and they're striving to feel some sense of feeling day in and day out. So is it really that sense of danger, that sense of living it out on the edge? Is that a driver for their relevance?
Not a psychologist, but that's not what I observed.
Okay.
What I observed was people struggling to survive and to find joy in whatever way they knew how to find it. So if it's slinging drugs so you can have a nice car and pick up hot girls, then that's what you're going to do. If it's, whatever it is you got to do, if people want happiness, and happiness must be pursued, right? You don't slip and fall into happiness. It's a deliberate pursuit of it. And, once they lose their hope, they go to the only ways they know how to get any joy.
Wow. That's heavy, man.
Yeah, I never thought we'd be talking about this.
Oh, that's the beauty of that's where the Froglogic podcast ends up going. It goes to the minds of frogmen and the minds of everybody else. And I really appreciate your willingness to discuss this type of thing.
Of course, man. It's without hope. I mean, that's the one thing that we see, and that's what we're lacking right now with this COVID-19, is you're watching people starting to spiral down this depressed this depression, get into a place with very little hope. Hope always drives us, the hope of something better, working to better ourselves or, for a better tomorrow or for anything. And once people lack that, what they're willing to do is pretty scary. And that's more of a Jordan Peterson thing than anything that I could even possibly touch on.
Massive fan of old JP there, man. Yeah.
He's awesome, man.
He is huge. And if you ever get excited, man, go take it one deeper. And I started reading his first book, Maps of Meaning, that he spent.
I don't know, man. It might be over my head.
Oh God, bro. It's brutal, dude. I'm literally like looking up.
Are you having to look up words every other
day? Every sentence, man. It's crazy because he roots it in this deep Jungian Carl Jung theory. And, and it's about the 20th century and the most evil century of all humanity,
Yeah.
He dissects it in a way where, it really gives you some insight as to how profoundly complicated we each of us are.
Right.
And that it's never easy. There's never a simple and again, as Americans, what are we always trying to do? We're always trying to cram the easy solution down everybody's throat. And I think that's what we're seeing in the media's hysteria. We're seeing in, different, government, people from government, people from academia. We're seeing all of this, this stress and this induced stress because, making decisions in these very difficult times is difficult. And I
can't even imagine being the president and having to make these decisions right now.
No way.
I am so glad I don't have to sit there and say balance a hypothetical economy versus a hypothetical death count of a disease that everyone's giving me contradictory information on.
No. Nope. No. These are
talk about a moving target.
Yeah.
That's there's nothing you can do there
at all. And I think, the one, and by the way, I love the shows you've been putting out on recently about COVID-19.
Thank you.
I mean, really beautiful. The one with Denver Riggleman and the SBA loans, that was massive for me. Immediately took all his information and started doing my own research. That was incredible.
So I got an update to that, brother.
Yeah,
I filed for my SBA loan today in 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
5 minutes. They've updated the website.
How did that
So
go?
you log on to the website, right? You literally go on there and there's like a red box on the page that says, apply for whatever. Don't click that one. Click the one on the top banner that says COVID-19 here. You fill that out. It's literally like 15 questions.
Wow.
Right? 15 questions, like yes or no. It's probably a little bit more than that. It was, I think, 3 pages, but it literally took me like 5 to 7 minutes. I didn't time it. But you go through it and you apply for that emergency 10K grant.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they qualify you up to the max of what you can get.
Wow.
Done.
Somebody
smart looked at it and said, why are we making this hard?
Yeah.
Right. And they're just like, boom. So they're just cutting those checks for 10 grand. It took me, like I said, between 5 and 10 minutes. You can do it right now. All you need is what you grossed last year.
Yeah.
What your costs were last year, your EIN, right? And then just normal stuff.
Wow. I love it. Done. So,
and they'll, if you qualify for a 7A, which is the one up to 10 million, they'll do it. The one in the middle, and then the emergency 10K, supposedly in 72 hours, as Denver said. So that's an update as of this morning.
Wow.
I've seen that website go 3 migrations. I started the first one, which was this long process, and I had to walk away because I didn't have all the info.
Yeah.
Uploading like documents from like my kindergarten years or whatever. And then I came back and the site was crashed and everything was like a PDF they had to fill out. And of course I continued to do it. And then today I went on and it was simplified.
Boom, done. I know what I'm doing as soon as I hang up.
Yep.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, let me just take a quick moment to thank my sponsors.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry for the interruption, but I just want to say, if everybody out there is doing what I'm doing while you're home right now. You are working out twice a day. You're doing your yard. You're cleaning out every closet. You are going big. You are optimizing your time in order to better get in better shape, more squared away, just nonstop, man. And so have I got some things for you. All right. First thing I want to do is just thank Onnit for being an incredible supporter of the Froglogic podcast. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Every day I wake up, I have a little bit of alpha brain to get me going, to help with my cognitive alacrity, if you will. Throughout the day, I also use their total gut health. I use their amino acids. I use their creatine. I use their performance enhancing peanut butter, as well as everything else there is. Getting ready to buy some more kettlebells. I think I'm probably going to get some of those Captain America bumper plates. Basically, if you want to continue optimizing your performance on every level, then go over to onnit.com. That's ONNIT, onnit.com, and check out all the things that are going to enhance you and prepare you for when this godforsaken coronavirus, COVID-19 thing comes to an end here, hopefully in the close future, when we'll all be in better shape, we'll be more focused, we'll have produced the greatest novel since, I don't know, some great novel, War and Peace, and you're ready to get back to things at the best possible place you've ever been in your life. So head on over to onnit.com, get yourself whatever you need in order to optimize your performance, because they have it ready for you. All right. Second one is I just want to say a big shout out to Wise Company. Wise Food Storage is the best food storage that's out there. I've tried just about everything you can have on the market. I've eaten just about every meal they have. It tastes great. It lasts for about 25 years. If you buy the buckets, it's easy to stack. It's easy to store. And I'll tell you right now, you don't want to not be prepared for the next pandemic, right? I understand. I'm getting a lot of direct messages saying, "Hey, Wise is not. They're delayed." But I'm telling you, I just got off the phone last week with the CEO, and they are turning and burning, working 24/7 at their production facility in Salt Lake City, and they are pumping out as much freeze-dried food as possible. So go ahead and do your order. It'll get to you. It just might take a few weeks. But it's going to get to you, because this is the stuff that'll prepare you if there's another ridiculous run on toilet paper or whatever's out there. I don't know what's next. But, there's some positive news coming out about numbers dropping off in Italy, numbers maybe steadying off in New York. But I believe we still have a little bit left to go, a couple months, maybe more. But you never can be too safe or sorry. Give yourself some peace of mind by going over to wisefoodstorage.com. That's wisefoodstorage.com. Check out all the products they got there. I personally have enough for 6 months of food for my family. Best stuff I've ever gotten. This is the stuff that you want to get. So head over to wisefoodstorage.com, push in for the promo code, type in Froglogic, and you will get 25% off everything they have there. You don't want to miss this opportunity. Order a year's worth of food, 25% off. It's the best deal that they got going. All right, head on over to wisefoodstorage.com, promo code Froglogic, and that'll be the deal. All right. Also, if you want to help us out here at Team Froglogic, head on over to teamfroglogic.com/store. Get yourself a Froglogic t-shirt, get yourself a Froglogic hat, a sticker. Hell, buy my Forging Self-Confidence book that's out there for adults. I've got 2 great kids books out, Doc Frog's PT for Kids, 12 exercises to get your kid dialed in, as well as Doc Frog's Anti-Bully book with the Anti-Bully Brigade. A wonderful book to prepare your children if they are getting bullied, if they might get bullied in the future. This is a great book. Did a lot of research on this. It'll be a lot of fun to read with your kids, or your kids just take it on their own. Man, you won't want to miss it. All right, that's teamfroglogic.com if you want to support us. All right, back to the show.
All right, great. Thank you guys so much for believing in Froglogic in the podcast. Thank you. I just can't say enough about Onnit and Wise Foods. All right, I want to talk now about your time in the teams, time in the police force, coming to Christ, understanding, wanting to make a difference, and help us understand why walk away from the police department and start Trident Shield. Because in my mind,
it was a catalyst.
Yeah, it is the total catalyst of the entirety, not only of, hey, this would be cool. There's these, Sandy Hook goes down. We're in a really bizarre time. There's not enough good information. I'll just do this and make a buck. Man, this is the culmination of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've never done anything once for money. I mean, who retires at 16 years or gets out at 16 years with nothing?
You and Rob O'Neill, that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it, right? But he knew he was going to be a millionaire when he walked away, right? I sure as hell didn't. Still not, by the way.
That's awesome.
So the catalyst was losing my brother to drugs, and then there was an opportunity to get.
Hey, Jason, what's your brother's name, real quick?
Ryan.
Okay.
Ryan Callahan.
Ryan Callahan.
Yep. And when I lost Ryan, that was a catalyst. And then why I left BPD was my son was born and he has autism. And when you're in Boston and, and particularly when you're on the SWAT team like I was, you don't have any time off. You're always on call. There's always, doing the sexy stuff, right? But then there's the funerals where I was on the SWAT team's also the moto unit. So you're on the bike. So you're doing all the escorts, all the parades, everything on top of everything else. And you just never had enough time off. And autism is one of those things where in the beginning, you can have a really profound effect on where they end up in the end by throwing a lot of resources at it. Mm-hmm. So I decided to walk away from my career there. Wow. And I did EP work for a company called Remy. Did executive protection for a guy worth $52 billion. And needed a job that would allow me to move to Charlottesville, where my now ex-wife, had family and friends. The Virginia Institute of Autism's there. And to slow life down and throw as much resources at Connor, my son, as we could. So I went and I did EP work, which was 30 days on, 30 days off. Great life, making good money. I made more money as a cop. Boston cops make phenomenal, though. The highest paid Boston cop 2 years ago was like $400K.
Good for him.
Yep. The average is is like 150, I think. So I, doing that. And then I remember one day, I literally was out at, driving and, I was watching TV and Sandy Hook went down. I'm like, that's it. That's it. I can't not do something now. A kid with autism just walked in to a school and killed a bunch of first graders, man.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I gotta find a way to do this. And so I started Trident Shield later that year, and I just started doing like schools on the side. And then it just kind of evolved. And then we came up with our online product and a bunch of other things. And now, last year we had our best year. This year, not so much.
Wow, I don't know. Be careful.
Not so much yet as of almost April.
I think we're going to come back from this as strong
totally
that our country's been in a long, long time, since 9/11,
I completely agree with you there. But so that's kind of what got this, got me to do this is I'm like, I feel like I'm uniquely suited to do this. I have my time in the teams, I have my time in the streets, I have my time, in Boston, as a cop. And then I had, some corporate executive protection. I felt like, hey, I think I can do this. And I looked around and I saw how everyone was doing it. And it was all this shock and awe, role players, airsoft. And I'm like, no one's going to learn that way, and they're never going to sustain it.
No way. No, that's
like, who the heck is going to put their people through that?
No one is. Especially, you're not going to put a woman that's been teaching for 35 years You're not going to put her in flex cuffs and put her on the ground. And it's just,
Unless there is a program out there that gets sued a lot that puts teachers against the wall and executes them.
really,
So they know what it's like. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just
wow.
absolutely ridiculous, dude. I mean, the lack of emotional or, EQ
Yeah.
out there in this industry is crazy because you get a bunch of cops and military guys who don't have any EQ.
Well, I
You know?
remember when I left Blackwater, I started my own organization and was doing some consulting, and I remember, like, I quickly realized, man, getting people to begin thinking about an industry that they actually pay lower than their janitorial services mostly.
Yeah.
How are you going to elevate their consciousness to one, accept the potentiality of the worst possible scenario, but then also to make it an everyday part of their conversation, right? To leave it to where it becomes not a threat emotionally, but to where it becomes a responsibility and to their people. And that's a tricky thing to do. What makes Trident different than everybody else in your approach?
It's empathy is a part of everything we do, right? I'm not training a bunch of, military operators. I'm training teachers, secretaries, a bunch of people, and I'm going to put it really simple. I'm teaching them how to kill people, right? In the worst case scenario, I teach them how to barricade.
Mm-hmm.
I teach them how to do all the other things. But in the worst case scenario, I have to teach them how to, where to stab somebody with a pair of scissors in their hand. Right. And I got to say it in a way that doesn't scare the shit out of them. Excuse my language.
Yeah, no.
Right. So I don't ever word it that way. Right. I word it in a way that, we don't call it attack. We call it defend for use of force reasons. Right. Because you are defending your life and the life of others. That's noble. Right. And we just really start incorporating a bunch of different cues along the way, and we take time. We do a slow warm. They have to know, right? Because everybody who walks into one of our classes or takes our course walks in with baggage, political baggage. We're the most divided country we've ever been in the history of the world, right? And that comes with them, right? And I'm teaching a subject that has got a bunch of landmines all over it, from profiling to, combatives to, domestic violence in the work. I mean, just literally a million things that can make someone offended in a society that makes it a full-time job to be offended. So the only way I'm able to deal with that is to show them the why, right? To show them the why and why I do this. So that's why that video that you see on my YouTube page, they have to know that I'm doing this because I care. If they know that I'm doing this because I care, and I'm doing it because I want this to be there for them in the darkest hour, and I don't try to rush it, they're willing to lower their guard and engage in a discussion to take on what I say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we've changed. I don't know how many people, we don't have a single complaint. We got like a 98.75, very highly recommend. You could give away free ice cream and not get that because someone's going to be lactose intolerant and are on a diet and they're going to be offended.
Yeah, they are.
Right. So teaching those concepts by coming across with empathy, say that I'm doing this because I care to you, and then doing this, a frog who jumps into a boiling pot jumps out. If you put it in there and you let it cook, slowly warm up, they'll stay in it. Right. And that's basically what I have to do is I have to navigate these very dark waters, very dark subjects in a way that doesn't scare the crap out of the average person, and do it in a way to where they can see it once and know what to do. Like, too many people get too technical. It's got to be instinctive. It's got to be so easy that I can do it.
Right.
And not only so easy that, 15-year-old with an attention span of 2 seconds can watch it and know, okay, I know what I need to do, and that's the part where it's going to be simple, instinctive. It has to pass the smell test. And, and I think we've hit the sweet spot.
I think it's to transition back to what we're facing right now. I think, as people are really beginning to maintain, or really trying their best to maintain a sense of calm, a sense of unity, a sense of collectivism hey, we're all in this together. But for obvious reasons, there are a certain number of criminals that do still exist. They're unfortunately for them, their jobs got even harder, right? Or even easier, depending upon the way you look at it. But is there a sense of, because like I saw on one guy I follow on YouTube, MRA guy, he posted a video where the Dallas police said, we're no longer going to respond to break-ins. We're no longer going to do this. I saw it in Cleveland. The same thing happened. You just referenced that a bunch of gun-toting maniacs from Maine cut down a large tree to barricade an individual who had been supposedly tested positive for coronavirus to make sure he stayed in his home. As these trends start to tick up, as they do within any society that's facing extreme measures either against them, whether from a lockdown perspective or from an emotional perspective, the propensity for violence grows.
Right.
What are some ideas that people can slowly, as you say, as the frog warms in that pot of water, what are some ideas that people can begin processing at home and on their blocks, in their smaller enclaves within their communities?
Yeah. So mutual aid agreements with your neighbors is going to be huge.
Wow.
Right. Finding people around you that if the police can't get there and you got to break in, you need to be able to call on people that are going to come help scare away this person.
Right.
That is minus the firearms. Now, I always, I tell everyone, if you don't have a firearm in your house, shame on you, because they exist and the bad guys will have them. Right. So what's your plan if you don't? Right. If you don't have a firearm, what is your plan when you don't? And a lot of my anti-gunners have like a Louisville Slugger right next to the thing.
They think they're Negan. They think they're Negan, right?
Yeah, exactly. They think they're going to turn into Babe Ruth, and they think they're going to literally, they think it's kinder to beat somebody slowly to death with a bat than
to shoot them.
Like there's no good way to go.
No.
Right.
No.
Or they're going to stab them 30 times to put them down. So, just really gradually walking them through that and saying, listen, you're going to have to fight for your life at some point if this situation unfolds for you. And, so you've got mitigation things you can do. Learning the skill of barricading is one of the most vital ones you can possibly do. Barricading will help you with a active shooter. It'll help you with a home invasion. It'll help you when you're a domestic abuser and come home drunk again, and that's when he beats you. It'll help you when your special needs child is now bigger and stronger than you and is in a violent fit and you need to hold out for the cavalry, right? These are life skills now. Like changing a tire, you better know how to barricade. You better have thought about it beforehand, and you better put furniture in the right place to make sure that you can do it. And it's easy. It's just don't decorate your room like it's feng shui. Right? Just have some thought when you place your stuff there, and then have a plan, right? If you've got young kids, your kids aren't going to be disciplined to wake up at 2 a.m, right? You're going to have to make their room the room you barricade in, right? And then coming up with plans and rehearsing with your family what you're going to do in these situations, right? And it can't be, hey, it's always 2 a.m. and we're all going to go here, because it may happen at 10 a.m. What's your go word?
Yeah,
what's your go word?
We have a truckload of day robberies, day break-ins where
that's the most common time.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. And now that the police know they're not responding, everyone's guards down during the day, and so it's like, what is your firearm up in the safe going to do for you during that?
Yeah.
Nothing. If it's not on you, like it might as well be in Africa.
I've got
that's nice.
That was my 1980s Outward Bound Rambo knife. I thought I was going to bring the Outward Bound.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it might as well be far away. So mutual aid agreements with people to say, hey, somebody who's close that you can count on. Just like it's kind of the same thing you do is, hey, I'm leaving town for a trip. Can you look out for my family?
Yeah.
And they exchange texts and all that stuff. But if this starts really ramping up and you live close to a city, like there's two vulnerabilities. You have the riot, roving
Right.
problems that are going to happen in the
Mobs.
city.
Yep.
And, you know, that 1 Second After book is great. That whole series, there's 3 in that series that are great. If you want another one to read, there's a series by it's called American, Angry American.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Coming Home series or something like that. It's great. They're both EMPs.
Yep.
The thing that makes this incident so challenging is that all the infrastructure is there and people didn't take it serious enough because life didn't change enough to warrant that shock. Right.
Yep.
So, so anyways, coming up with your mutual aid agreements, coming up with, you know, staging firearms in places in a safe way if you have kids. You know, there's enough furniture out there now with magnets and this and that and thumbprints to do all that. But you're really going to do it because now they're just coming to your door and they're kicking in your front door during the day.
Yeah.
Right. They pull up, they rent a truck. Right. And then they come up and they do it in a truck or they steal a truck and they do it. The thing that I think is going to be the next thing we're going to see is carjackings galore, particularly for delivery personnel.
Yep. Huge.
Right, people. Yep. Because they're carrying like what right now is in your average UPS truck. Think of the wealth that's in there.
Food, guns, ammo, gun parts,
Toilet paper,
which everybody's ready to kill for the next roll of Charmin, right?
Right. So companies really need to understand that there are some people who are exposed. I do not think because everyone's home right now, I don't think the crime wave, the stupid crime wave is going to be people breaking into homes because everyone's home. So it's a home invasion. Already you're looking at serious time.
Right.
Home invasion, serious time. Burglary, way less time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to break into stores at night. Right? When no one's there, the police aren't going to respond. That's what they're going to do. And then what'll happen? Reactive. The companies will hire security at night. So then they'll start going to rural places.
Yeah.
You'll get people going up and driving somewhere where they won't hear any noise. Like me, if my closest neighbors are 5 acres away, right? Then no one will know if anything goes down here unless there's shots.
Right.
Right.
How do the businesses, what are your recommendations for businesses preparing?
Businesses need to get security personnel, period. Right. And they need to train people right now. Right. Like, so their domestic violence already in Europe is off the charts right now. So they literally have turned their pharmacies into battered women's shelters in Germany and Italy right now, because what's happening? Tension brings out the worst in people. Mm-hmm. So they really need to invest and start protecting their employees. And I think right now there's a lot of them sitting at home. You might as well get them some quality training that's going to apply in a home invasion, in a robbery, trying to get their groceries, or carjacking,
right,
or anything. But they need to start looking at that, because they're particularly we have a lot of our, you're really strong in the banking industry, right? Credit unions and banks and all that stuff. But grocery stores right now, right? Look at the tension going on in there. You got to train your people on how to handle and de-escalate these scenarios, or when to bolt.
Well, and you look in these places that, you come to Southeast Florida, and it's like every other person's got a concealed weapons permit, mm-hmm. but yet none of them, less than 2% have any efficient training whatsoever. So,
right.
These confrontations for the last roll of Charmin are going to escalate into, gunfights.
That's where I get scared. That's where I get scared, and I fear for the Second Amendment. Right. This is the time where anti-gunners are buying guns. Right. That's what's happening right now. The rest of us have already had them. The people flooding the stores right now are the people who've never thought to have one, or like, oh, wait a minute, the police aren't answering calls anymore. I probably should get one. Mm-hmm. But when it's when people start getting in armed engagements over, things that are not life and death. Now, we haven't seen that. I was at the Virginia, not too long. It's so funny how the world has changed. The Second Amendment rally here in Virginia.
How was that?
It was the most peaceful, polite thing I've ever seen. And that's what happens when you have a bunch of armed people around each other.
Yeah. People treat each other with some dignity.
Dignity and respect. When that dude's got something that can kill you and you can kill that. Everyone gets real polite.
Yeah.
Right? It was great. It was a surprise. I think God had his hand on it, because the odds of having however many 100,000 people, whatever, 70,000, whatever they thought was there, and not having one AD.
Incredible.
Not one AD.
Not one.
Like, not one getting ready to go, deload. None reported, because believe me, if there was one, it would have been on
all
CNN
over.
day and night.
Yeah. It would have been all over.
You know, I'm like, that is a miracle.
Yeah,
I just hope they don't do it again, because I would have counted that 2 times in a row. You know.
Yeah. Right.
You know, but yeah, man, it was amazing. I went there because I believe in it. I wanted to document it. You know, if I wasn't there, I would have regretted it.
Yeah. I saw it with, I'm in the process of just doing research on the Second Amendment and research on, where gun violence comes from, why people are violent, why people carry guns, the restrictions, all the different laws, but all the different issues, the mental health issues of it. And to see that experience, and to really, to see the human condition at its best was so powerful and so positive that it almost lets you realize that, hey, there is a contingency of Americans that really believe in what the country represents. And they're not right wing. They're not radical. They're not racist. They're not offensive. They're not, these are not intrusive ideas. These are collective ideas that prop up the ability for the rest of society to function adequately. And I think now more than ever, where we're at, we're going to need a lot of those citizens in that capacity. When you start seeing neighborhood watches of guys completely kitted out from midnight to 6 a.m. all over the country, I think it'll help ease this frantic hysteria that's building, like we talked about.
Yeah, it was pretty, so there's some things that I liked about it, and some pedestals I've stood on and preached. So one is, I thought everyone should have concealed carry. I thought it would have been more powerful if you had all those people there concealed carry, and everyone would see, hey, that guy looks like my neighbor. That guy is, so everyone around me, and my life hasn't changed one bit. Right? Meaning that they're all out there, they're all armed, they're saying they're armed, I can't see it, and my life hasn't changed one bit, and I'm safer because of it. What kind of, we haven't been a war zone here, right? Katrina, maybe with the National Guard and some people in New Orleans and around there and all that stuff. But seeing groups of 3 and 5 guys jocked up in kit wreaks havoc on a sheltered society.
Yeah.
Right? It's that whole EQ thing. It's like they're there, they have power, and I have none. It's like telegraphing a sucker punch, kind of. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's the havoc that wreaks on an EQ, I think, made it counterproductive. So I support the Second Amendment 1,000%, but all these guys, these airsofters who decided to go get jocked up and in kit that's never touched sand, right? I thought was kind of ironic, and I wish they had just been professionals and just said, listen, I'm carrying right now. I got 3 firearms on me right now, and you don't even know, and it's not affecting you one bit. Yeah. So leave my Second Amendment alone.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that's the absolute appropriate way, but again, we have a propensity to elicit the most dramatic responses possible when we're trying to make our point instead of building up to it, right?
Yeah.
But that's just us. Let me ask you this: do you think that America's going to come out of this and really take heed the lessons we're learning, right? Dependency on China, the necessity for guns and ammunition and training facilities, more security training, a heightened sense of how vulnerable we are. Is that going to be a positive gain, or are we going to see a radical backlash depending upon how dramatic this gets?
Well, depending on how this unfolds, one, I'll tell you how I think it's going to unfold.
Okay. Awesome.
I think that we've got 3 to 6 months of hard living ahead of us. Okay. I tend to agree more on the 6.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Worst case scenario, 18 months.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. I think on the backside of this, I'm not an economist, can't do calculus, but what my feelings are on this is that we're going to be stronger for it because we're going to fix, like, something happened and none of us were paying attention to it. Well, I've always bought American and I've always bought the hammer that was 3 times as expensive because I refuse to send money overseas if I can keep it home. And I understood the consequences of that, but that's just who I am, right? A lot of people, they will always buy the cheapest stuff because that's available to them and et cetera. We have to get unaddicted to cheap junk from China.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And capitalism is always going to go the cheapest, greediest way possible. And I'm a capitalist. Okay. But that's just the way it is. If I can make it here for this and have this profit margin, or here and have this profit margin, I'm going to go there because I don't have a responsibility to society. I have a responsibility to the balance sheet. Right. And capitalism is right 99% of the time. This is a case where it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon and all these other companies out there have displaced their jobs and displaced the American worker to go over and make these things, and in places where they hate us, right? China, it does not, I'm not a fan. They're our number one enemy in the world. Everyone talks about Russia. It's China. And if you want to talk about a government that's the most racist, evil government ever, you're looking at them right there. They have concentration camps where they put Muslims right now. They have organ farms over there for people. It is truly terrifying and horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But we sacrificed America for the profit of super companies, and I really believe we need to bring them home. Like our 97% was one number I heard of our antibiotics being produced in China. Why are we hearing about that now? Why isn't there somebody screaming about that 10 years ago?
Right.
That's a national security interest. Like being able to build things here that we need to be independent. Like we all did this great big push for the independence on energy. Well, energy is one part of the equation. Manufacturing is another part, right? And, and I think, this is going to be, at the end of this, a boom of American manufacturing that is going to lift the middle class up like never before.
That's cool.
That's my hope for this. I really think that we're going to go back to building stuff again, man. And when we go back to building stuff again, you're going to empower, people to make a better life for themselves like never before.
That's a beautiful place, man.
It is, man. It is.
I support that 100%, my brother.
Yeah. And I just, I hope, and it hasn't happened yet. Right. Do you remember the day after 9/12, after 9/11? So 9/12, all the flags, all the camaraderie, there was no party lines. There was none of that. I hoped in the beginning that this is it. This is going to be the catalyst that heals us. But the media and social media are not letting it happen, man.
No, not at all.
They reopen that wound every day at every chance they can, and it just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
You're seeing. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Because we are perpetual corpsmen, always trying to pack those societal wounds of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Amen.
I mean, think about how awesome social media can be with this. Like your great grandma or your grandma in a nursing home who can't be anyone. That's the best of social media. Her grandkids saying hi to her on there, right? That's literally as good as it gets. And then you have politicians using this and media outlets using for the darkest of reasons. And, I just really hope we all get a little kinder. I hope we all, get yourself squared away first, and then everything extra, you got to help another person around you.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
get your base set, and then everything after your base is set is helping as many people as you can.
Amen.
In my opinion.
Amen. Well, listen, Jason, can you just give us a real quick, before we end this, can you give us a real quick overview of what Trident Shield does, and then what you offer for people, and where they can find you?
Yeah, so we are an emergency preparedness training and consulting company. So we do everything from active shooter, active assailant training, to writing emergency operations plans / crisis management plans, whatever you want to call them. There's like 15 acronyms out there for them. We also do security site assessments. We do emergency consulting. You know, I have retainers from multiple companies where I serve as their kind of risk officer, where when something goes down, they call me and I help them solve their problems. We also have a podcast called Locking Shields that is designed to help solve problems. It's designed to give them access to a consultant to literally help them, teach them how to barricade, what weapons they should pick, how to handle, anything they could possibly think of, and also tell their story, right? Because everyone right now is alone.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is we want to bring everyone's story out and show that people aren't suffering alone. We're all going through this challenge together. And we really just want to share that story. And then if they have any challenges, to solve it as a community, because none of us know all the answers.
Amen to that.
Thanks,
And where can people find you?
They can find us at tridentshield.net. They can find us on YouTube at Trident Shield. They can find us on Facebook on Trident Shield. I go live every day at 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. I just changed that. I needed 2 days off.
Yeah.
So 9 p.m.
You
live.
slacker.
Yeah.
Go get wet. Hey.
9 p.m. I'm trying to do Facebook Live and YouTube Live at the same time with this restreaming software. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, let me know how it works. All right.
We'll do.
People want me to go live, but
I want to say something about you, man. And you brought it up, and it's the corpsman in you. And, I just find you, watching your work, you're a giver and you're a healer, and don't ever lose that, man, because you're really making a difference out there.
Jason, thank you, brother. It means the world to me. It really does. The
You
hardest.
need more healers, bro.
The hardest thing in life is when you get so lost in a space where you forget why God put us here in the first place, and living up to that responsibility and to kind of walk that apostolic life and is hard, and that's why people don't do it. But I think as long as we can do whatever we can to give people, like you said, that hope that it's worth it. It's worth the fight every day. I think that then we get a little closer to that salvation that we've been searching for since we were young men.
Yeah. Yep. So definitely. Well, thanks for having me, man. This was awesome. I could talk to you for days.
Yeah. Thank you so much. God bless you, Jason. And
God bless you and your family as well.
Take care.
Bye.